As I was coming here today, I was trying to remember the first time I actually knew who John H. Johnson was. A bit of context, I'm born November the 18th, 1983. And so I could tell you I've always known who John H. Johnson was. But I'm a bit of a history buff. And I think back to myself, the very first time that I experienced John H. Johnson was at a beauty salon. I was a news junkie, and my mother made me sit at the beauty salon with her at all hours of the day on a Saturday morning. And there would be an Ebony magazine, there would be a Jet magazine, and she'd say, "Boy, just go sit there and be quiet." And I found myself enamored with information. I found myself enamored with that great magazine, not knowing who the man was at such a young time in my life. But as I grew to become a man and understand black history, to understand that this John H. Johnson came from my state, came from Arkansas City, who was a beacon of light for all. A man that in 1982 was on Forbes magazine as a top 400. As being someone that's been involved in business for quite some time, John H. Johnson represents so much achievement, so much determination, and dedication, and commitment. He laid the groundwork for many black men and black women to become entrepreneurs, to become CEOs of major companies, because he laid the groundwork because of his determination. And to Linda, we thank you for carrying on that torch. You did it for so long, and we're so grateful for you. And all I'm here today is that, Linda, I welcome you back to your hometown, your home state. We're grateful for you, and we say thank you to the Johnson family. We thank Representative Vivian Flowers and members of the Arkansas Legislative Black Caucus and all of those that were part of this bipartisan effort to create this day, because they took the chance to do something that should have been done a long time ago. So we say thank you. So on behalf of the City of Little Rock, not only to Miss Linda Johnson Rice, but also to Dr. Margina A. Christian, we want to present to you something that your father already had. He had a key to Little Rock, he had a key to Arkansas, he had a key to Chicago, and we know he had a key to everyone's front door. But we want you to know how much we appreciate you by presenting a key to the City of Little Rock.
Arkansas shaped it. I know he told the stories.
Well, I tell you, it took a long time for him to come back home. I remember him telling me stories about the Great Flood and about the Red Cross really helping them and saving them. But he left here and didn't come back to Arkansas probably until '86. So that was, I don't know how many decades, probably 50 years almost. And it was because when he left, it was a very, very difficult time for him. And he left in such a way that he didn't want to come back. And he didn't want to look back, and he wasn't sure that he would even be welcome back here. And so when he finally did come back, courtesy of Governor Clinton at the time, and Rodney was right in that entourage. All of us were. It was, I think, a very heartwarming and embracing experience for him, and I think quite surprising and quite humbling. And I told him, I said, "Dad, trust me, you're probably the most famous person from Arkansas City, Arkansas. I think you're going to be okay. I think they're going to really like you and embrace you." But still, as strong as he was, and as full of character as he was still unsure. He was still unsure because his memories flooded back so far and into such, I think, difficult and turbulent times, that even though he achieved great success, there was still an insecurity there. But once he came back, that was it. He was all Arkansas all over. Oh yeah, all over, 100%.
I'm wondering, you growing up in that environment, around so many famous people that you probably took for granted, in and out of the house, in and out of the building. What do you recall as a child growing up in such rarefied air?
Let's see. The first time I met the Jackson 5. How about that? How about that? I mean, listen, that's pretty heady stuff, okay? But, you know, look, it's the media business, and it's an incredible business. It's Ebony, it's Jet, and so our company, Johnson Publishing, if you were African American and you came to Chicago, our home was your home. And so you came, you had lunch, you know, we entertained you, we wanted you to feel special and to feel welcome and to know that we were there for you. And so, you know, to have, you know, Muhammad Ali or you know, Jesse Jackson, my goodness, my father gave Jesse his first job, loading and unloading trunks of Jet magazines. So to me, though, that was sort of routine, but you know, when the Jackson 5 came, I'm sorry, that was like all bets were off. That was a whole different breed. But when you're in the media business, you know, you're fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to meet some incredible people. And you know, I was adopted, and so every day that I get up, I say, there by the grace of God go I, every day, because I was blessed enough to be adopted by John and Eunice Johnson. Yeah, that was actually pretty good. And you know, I remember the one person I do remember meeting that I thought really was life-changing for me in so many ways was Nelson Mandela. And that was because we opened an office in South Africa. We had Ebony South Africa magazine. And at that opening, we were invited to Mandela's home. And so it was just me, my parents, and Nelson Mandela sitting in his library. And I will never forget that, because that to me was, yeah, you meet every celebrities and they're amazing and incredible superstars and brilliant historians and educators and CEOs. But there was another level to meeting Mandela that I just will never forget that. And he gave me a copy of his book, and he was going to autograph it to me, and I said, no, autograph it to my daughter, because she was young at the time, and I said, she will cherish this when she gets older. Of course, I have not given her the copy, because you know I'm going to keep that, but that was an incredible experience for me.
Think about that iconic building on Michigan Avenue. That was a first. Was it the first African-American man to have a building on Michigan Avenue? I remember when I first moved there, I had a place that I could overlook the sign. And so whenever I get down, I go out there and look at that Ebony Jet sign, and it gave me hope and inspiration that he can do it there as the beacon. So what did that mean to him and to your family to have that building?
That building was full. First of all, we don't have the building anymore because as the company downsized, I decided to make a very, I think, it was a gut-wrenching and a painful decision, was to sell the building. And I really thought about it very long and very hard, and I said, here are my choices. It's the business or it's the building. And it was very clear to me the business came first. And that, you know, no matter what, it would always be the house that John Johnson built. But, you know, it took my father, I think, we opened the building in 1971. And it took him 10 years to save, to get the money to buy the land. And, you know, prior to that, our building was was farther south on Michigan Avenue. And that building, you know, he had to dress as the janitor in order to inspect the building, because no one was going to sell him that property. And so he had someone who was white buy the property for him, and then he bought it from them. But the only way for him to even look at it was to dress as the janitor so that he could see the property. But so we fast forward, you know, to 1971, and he opens the building, and the architect was John Matusame, who was an African-American architect. And so it, yeah, was, I think it still is the only African-American built and owned building in the Chicago, in the Loop. It was an amazing headquarters. I grew up there and spent a lot of time in that building.
You talk about difficult choices, downsizing, and letting part of it go. Tell me what went into that decision and how that affected you personally.
Yeah, it's been a tumultuous ride. It's been quite a few challenges, but I really work off of the strength of my parents and also the strength that I've had to find for myself. And you know, it's a business, and it's a systemic business. The media business, as people here know, has shifted tremendously. It's just not the same. I mean, we all love magazines, but not everybody does, and the way and the news is delivered in such a much faster and a much more instant way that there was no way for us to be able to keep up with that and then just have two magazines. You really needed to have it in a place at least that, you know, could support it in a bigger way. And then we had our cosmetics business, and so that was the media business was a drain on the cosmetics business. So, you know, as it turned out, I had to make some very difficult decisions. And let me tell you, I spent many a night, you know, crying and it was a very tumultuous time, but at some point you just have to get a grip and you just got to move forward and make these decisions. And, you know, I believe in God very much so, and I know that He has my back all the time. And so that's what I had to do.
So what's the status right now of the brand? Is it still in the hands of the investment group? Where do we stand, Ebony and Jet?
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you. So we sold Ebony Jet in 2016 to an African-American owned private investment company, CVG Group. And so they still have the brands. They still have them now. The magazine's not being printed. I think they're going to start back doing it in a digital version, but there is the website, so there's the ebony.com website, but right now it's just sort of, it's hanging a little bit in limbo. It's a difficult business.
So, along those same lines, what do you envision for yourself?
Oh.
There's an interview, baby. No, that's it, for real. And so forth. What do you envision happening with what you want to do and carrying on the brand, if you will, and your mother and father's?
Absolutely. Okay, so you guys are going to hear the first to hear this now. So I am doing a book. So the book will be out in. It actually goes to the printer in the first quarter of next year, so I better hurry up. And then I'm also working on a documentary about my mother. So we've already started filming a documentary, which is great because I think she has an incredible story. And I think a lot of people don't know it. They don't know how really powerful she is and what a visionary she is. And I just hung up the phone with, it's going to be years off because those take a lot of time to do. But I think it's going to be something very exciting. So I have a few things in the works, and I'm on a couple different corporate boards, and I'm also president of Chicago Public Libraries. So we have a lot. I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm good. More to come.
Love talking to you.